Hello and welcome to another Fireside Chat with Dragon Combat Club. My name is John Hugh. I am the lead for Dragon Combat Club. Thank you again for joining us in this, hopefully, what will be insightful conversation in the next hour about community work. Dragon Combat Club this past week has actually attended a few rallies, and we were actually hoping to have everyone individually speak what they thought of the rallies this week, as well as maybe other rallies that may have attended in the last month. We're really going to drill home about why these rallies are so important, why these conversations and the presence physically needs to continually exist. So I'll go ahead and pass it to Henry. If you can just introduce yourself, a little bit about yourself, background.
Am I assuming they watched the previous one or not? Hey, I'm Hen, one of the original members of Dragon Combat Club, DCC. Prior to that, I spent about 10 years on and off training jiu-jitsu, wrestling, competing both. Also I've trained Muay Thai. Also a coach of the Tactics and Combat System, which focuses on like the simplest stuff for self-defense. And today I'm just one of the folks who are helping run the remote classes, and I was also down on the ground this week, and I'll talk about that later. But yeah, nice to meet you all.
Noah, if you could introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Noah. I'm also in the Dragon Combat Club. I train with most of the guys here. I've been in the club since 2020. It's been a real good experience so far, and hopefully, I get to continue.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alex. I've been with DCC pretty much on and off, but a lot more off since probably, I want to say, June of 2021. And I have background in Chinese martial arts, some Filipino martial arts, and some boxing.
And I'm Vincent. This is my first time attending this fireside chat. My background is a number of different disciplines: Taekwondo, Tang Soo Do, Kung Fu, boxing. A lot of my focus is on learning or learning, but also sharing knowledge to people and helping them. Most currently, helping them on self-defense, teaching self-defense for women, elders, but open to anyone. So this is why I'm joining, the team here.
And of course, I am your host and moderator for this conversation. Again, my name is John Hugh. I am the lead for the Dragon Combat Club. I've been actually studying martial arts for the last 16 years, but have been heavily involved in community work along with Henry. Actually, Henry was the one that invited me to the mass majority of New York City events, but I've also been around the country to help support and organize the patrol missions and support groups. So, Milda, are you there?
Hold on, fumbling a bit with my phone. Yeah, I'm here. I can't exactly turn my camera on right now. But so my name is Milda. I've been with Dragon Combat Club since January of last year. I helped out with some of the trainings before this. Before joining, I had one class exactly of karate, and that's about it. But we did go over situational awareness, which was helpful, and I think it did end up saving my skin at one point. Like I said, I joined Dragon Combat Club last year in January. Started out pretty much fresh, and I've moved on to actually teaching basics to beginners, and I'm just glad to be here and to take part in these discussions.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Milda. Yes, indeed. So actually, Henry and I attended the Times Square rally that was reciprocated all around the country, and this was the Justice for Asian Women rally that was met in other similar cities such as Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, Detroit, Houston, New York City, Sacramento, San Francisco, Twin Cities, and Washington, D.C., and this was held by the Asian Justice Movement. Henry, I know that you attended this rally with us. What were your thoughts about the rally?
I showed out. To be very honest, I did for the time. We showed up very late because we had to make some deliveries, and we took a little detour to get certain things. When I did show, however, I remember that it was a survivor of a hate crime, and she echoed many of our frustrations. Where I think every time an Asian American gets attacked, right, we never talk about how the Asian American feels. We never talk about how horrible it is for Asian Americans. And whenever we always talk about, it's always like, this is horrible, or we end up looking at the attacker, right? What is the attacker suffering from that's causing it, and how can we help and it was great for them to finally talk about that, right? To actually say that on a stage and for people to cheer. So this was something conversation I've only seen on social media before, and to see that being said at Times Square to echo people's frustrations, or in Times Square in such a big stage, that was something that made me feel proud. I was very happy. I know that there were some, and the other person I think that whose speech was that really resonated was Min Jin Lee, and I do apologize if I mispronounced, where she started right about what are Asian people doing differently in light of the COVID era racism. And it was very apparent that not only did she read every response, that she reflected on it thoroughly. And I really just appreciate the fact that even though she's Asian American and she's a blue check, and I've said a lot, I have a lot of big criticism of blue checks, that she doesn't think that it's just her experience. She cared to listen to all of us. And she talked about how we're already more vigilant than we are, right? In the city of New York that we live in, people carry pepper sprays, and they're like, we carry flashlights too. I'm like, okay, it's very clear that she's listened to some DCC members who responded to her tweets, and I just felt like she very eloquently captured the Asian American experience in these very difficult times. So, were these the first time I heard such words? No, but this was the first time I would hear these words on a big stage. And that's something I am very happy about. So that was my takeaway from the Times Square rally. I don't know about you.
Yeah, so just as a reminder for people who may not be aware, the Justice for Asian Women rally was actually the mark of the 1-year anniversary of the Atlanta spa shootings. And honestly, one of my personal one thing I observed from, even walking around the subway station 1 year after these events, women of all color are very cautious about standing too close to that yellow line, standing too close to an impending subway train. And it is a cause for concern, not only for AAPIs in the country, but also, for all women, for all elderly. Milda, do you, I know you haven't been able to attend a rally this week, but as a woman, how does this make you feel?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, as a woman in maybe New York City or wherever you are, if you can go into detail about that, do you feel safe even a year after the Atlanta spa shootings?
Kind of yes, kind of no. I haven't been taking public transportation as often or as much, but my mom, for example, she commutes to work every day, and she definitely doesn't feel safe. And for example, she sometimes gets out kind of late, and she's like, heaven forbid if I'm the only person in a train car, because then you never know who can get on the next stop, and there are no other people to rally with. So she really doesn't feel safe. And my mom, for example, she's kind of I've spoken with her about situational awareness, about safety numbers, things like that, and she definitely does her part, and she's aware, and I'm glad. But recently I've finally been able to kind of get her to change her opinion about pepper spray, because at first she's like, oh no, I'm old, I don't need it, well, but now she's like, maybe let me think about it. So there is that sort of change in her perception, and I'm kind of glad that she's more receptive to it. The thing that kind of like bothers me about the Atlanta shooting is that you have May 8th, which is International Women's Day, when everyone's like, oh my God, we love women so much. And then like on the Atlanta spa shootings, it's like, oh no, we actually hate women. We're gonna kill them all for like various reasons. And I'm like, this is awkward. But the perception of safety and like the understanding, it's definitely worse. And like there were times when in the past I would go see my friends and I would be okay with taking public transportation, taking the subway. But now if I have the option, I will try to drive or get a ride because I just don't feel as comfortable anymore.
Would you like to go first?
I think I froze for a moment. Should I repeat anything?
Yeah, we lost you for the last 5 seconds, so if you'd like to repeat anything you said.
So, like I said, my mom has been more open to carrying pepper spray. At least she's starting to consider it rather than flat out being like, oh, I don't need it, I'm too old. The other thing is that in terms of like safety on public transit and stuff, before I would be okay taking it, but now there are definitely times where I would prefer to drive rather than take public transportation just for safety reasons. Yeah. Guess I could pass it back to you, John, unless I'm frozen again.
So yeah, I'm also gonna relate to that as well. I mean, for me personally, I have not. I would say I'm not. It hasn't made me hesitant to take public transportation or anything like that. But for my family, especially my aunts or my cousins, mostly my female cousins and family, they are hesitant to take public transportation, but they are now more willing to. They're more aware now, but at the same time, they want to take precautions, not just family but friends as well. But they're also more open to learning to be more aware of things, but also trying to take control of certain situations. They are willing to take accept carrying certain things like pepper spray or taser, even though it's not legal here, but people feel they want more sense of security, so they are willing to take additional measures to make sure that they're okay to be out in public. I mean, it is from what happened last year with everything in Atlanta. I also have family in Atlanta, but it's a little different. But focusing more here in the city, people are more afraid because there is more chances of interacting with other people, being close to other people who might be a threat. So they are willing to take more precautions, and so pepper spray, taser, even a flashlight, or learning self-defense, learning how to be more cautious, but carrying, for example, holding their keys in a certain way to open doors, but also to help them protect themselves. It's scary times. So they are willing to do that, but at the same time, they still feel somewhat inadequate because they don't have much of the support that they're seeing in the community. So at the same time, they do find themselves to be more, unfortunately, reclusive because of what's happening. Even though they have to be out in public to do certain things, whether it's going out to work or buy groceries and stuff like that, they are taking those precautions, but most of the time they're still afraid to be out. Mm-hmm. So they do prefer to still stay home or stay close to home or be around with other people instead of walking out by themselves. So it's it's a big things that have been happening last year. It's a big eye opener for a lot of people, and I think we still have a long ways to go for them to be more confident and safe, just to be out by themselves. I hope that that I'll stop there because I can go on a rant. There's a lot more I can explain, but I hope this helps. But I think a lot of the issues is we're still not getting enough support, and they're still not getting enough knowledge on how to protect themselves, how to feel comfortable and safe to be on their own. And I hope that there are more people out there that can help provide that kind of support. Whether it is a self-defense class or any other resources, not just from their own community, but also from our local leaders and whatnot. To make some changes that really makes a difference. People that are here for the rallies or here for protesting. That's great. It brings a lot of awareness, but it only does so much because it doesn't bring action. It's only a lot of talk and conversation or talking about the frustrations and the issues that we're having, but nobody's bringing anything into action. And that's what we're trying to do here. That same here for DCC. You guys are offering self-defense courses virtually and hopefully in person. To help people become more confident, but also more aware and better prepared for themselves to provide their own safety when they need to. And so that's something that I want to stand by and help support, because you're not always going to have the support system that you need, especially by yourself. And so that's why we have to work together in providing these type of resources, so that way people do become more confident. Encouraging them to be to learn how to take care of themselves, because you're not always going to be around people that will provide you that kind of protection or whatnot. So
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Could you just repeat the question so I answer it the way? Oh, what did I see at the rally? Right, is the question?
Yep.
That's the question. Okay. What I saw. You mean this past weekend's rally, or you mean all the rallies from the beginning?
Just this past weekend, Alex.
This past weekend's rally, the march, that we did from Columbus Park all the way, circling into Canal Street, walking back down into what is that, Bowery Street, and then so Mayor Adams wasn't there, right? And that's who we were trying to get, right? It's like he ran away from facing the music, right? As if he went to Chicago, right? Just to avoid all that, right? But the thing is, we're trying to just address this whole bail reform thing. Why, it's like, I think that, it's great that we're at this rally. It's great that the congressman came, right, and probably said his piece. But what good is giving a false promise if there's nothing to deliver? I think we should really believe and act on what we preach. Practice what you preach. Don't fucking just say it. Excuse my language, by the way. But you see my YouTube videos. I curse a lot, all right? I fucking sorry, but I don't mean to laugh, all right? But look, it starts with the government. If laws are not here to protect its people, what good are the rallies? What good is me fucking bitching in the morning crying about what the fuck has happened? All right? It starts with awareness also. Thank you very much. All right. And then so if we're in our own, you have to look back, look to your side every time. Don't pretend and act like an idiot looking forward, and really just get into the self-defense classes, and learn a thing or two, but immerse yourself. Right. So, hopefully they stress that, stress self-defense, and also stress, everyone being formidable, so that, you increase your chances of survival. Right. So hopefully they, work their way towards that kind of progression where they are prepared to go outside in the streets and do what they have to do to survive. All right. So that's, what I have to say about that part.
I'm going to add on to that. Sorry.
Sure.
these rallies do bring a lot of awareness, but at the same time, when we are struggling to voice our struggles and our issues here, and it's not being heard. These rallies do help to bring awareness, but at the same time, we still have to continue to move forward with that as well by bringing action to that. The awareness is there, but at the same time, it's not bringing enough action. We do hope that this does, bring our voices out, and hopefully our local leadership will listen and act on that. But at the same time, we also have to make sure that we as individuals are working to protect ourselves as well, or where we're supporting each other and bringing that as well. And so it's kind of a multi-level effort in a sense to make sure that we are all safe, and we are bringing safety to our community.
Yes,
Sorry.
absolutely. So this is definitely a multi-collaborative effort, right? Even those individuals in the API community are not going to be able to do this by themselves. Like actually, funny enough, like when DCC was started, we actually had a lot of help from participating members of the Black Lives Matter movement. And their help has been invaluable, and it has always been appreciated here. Henry, did you want to speak about that really quick?
About the which topic? There's been many topics about the help that we've received from other groups, right?
Exactly, and I'll turn it over to Noah after you're done.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Noah is an original member. I mean, that says a lot. I mean, that he's, and many of our Rob Noah is not the only one. We had Ash. We also had he teaches the remote classes. We also have Rodney. He was also an original member too, non-Asian, right? It's very interesting because a lot of people think that it's like a certain race versus another race, where it's like, no, it's people who care about your existence as a human being, right? And if you understand that, then you understand solidarity, from a very basic level. And this is been very consistent through DCC's history, where DCC wasn't just a self-defense club. It was a haven for folks who were sympathetic to the struggles of Black Americans and also didn't want to die, right? Who didn't want to see themselves get killed. And one of the reasons, and over time, we've had many times where we've received a lot of support, whether it's both monetary or getting a platform from both Black folks and brown folks to getting DCC to where it is today. And and I'm sure that whoever was in Chinatown today saw that it wasn't just Asian Americans speaking out about the horrors of having a jail in Chinatown, right? And I remember I saw a Black woman speaking very passionately. And once again, this is not the first time that this has happened, right? I've seen time and time again folks from different marginalized groups being able to almost, I would never want them to speak for us, but I would definitely say that, from the way they talk, that they seem to understand our struggle a lot better than, certain folks who, like Asian Americans, who claim to represent us, but don't live anywhere near where we do and don't walk the same streets that we do. So, yeah.
Yeah, so since, being a member, since 2020, I did see a very active community tackling the issues of racism, and not just racism, violence accompanied with racism. Onto that, since last year's attacks escalated, we did see a number of people joining to participate in free classes, which is good. But since the attacks has escalated this year, we see more people living in fear of being thrown off the train tracks, rather than being proactive. But nowadays, since the attacks have increased, there are more people being proactive in terms of arming themselves with pepper spray, tactical pants, whatever, flashlights, wherever they can to protect themselves. In terms of the community fighting back, which I'm in big favor of, I feel that there should be more of that, because the more we combat this together, the more these attacks will cease. But unfortunately, the attacks come from every person, and because every person, speaking of race, is responsible for people getting thrown off trains, trail tracks and stuff. It's hard to trust people nowadays, and that breaks down the community. Rallies do bring awareness. However, I think the word unity in community should be stronger. You know what I mean? Because there's strength in numbers. You know what I mean? Because I feel like the more we live in fear of these people, with the possibility of throwing people off the train tracks, we're just giving them power. You know what I mean? And I feel like as a community, because I'm going to stress the word community a lot of times, we should not be giving them that power. If there is someone attempting to throw an elderly woman off the train tracks, he should be subdued immediately instead of watching. There should be no more watching. There should be no more just standing there and thinking, what should I do? You should be able to subdue this person already. And I think, with that awareness, we should be aware of thinking, how can I do on my part as a part of the community to help stop these attacks? Yeah. In terms of the rally, after the Going in Mars rally, I did see a lot of community coming together. Basically, mourning a woman who has brought a lot of positive change into this community. Although she was battling to survive, she did keep a happy smile despite what happened to her. When a lot of people paid their respects to her, I did see a lot of people I recognized, man. Like, one of the people I served with was at the rally, and it was actually good to see him there. It's just a feeling of knowing that I'm not alone in this was a great realization. You know what I mean? Definitely, I feel that the overwhelming sense of participation and honoring this woman was very profound, in a sense. There were times that I passed by the memorial to make sure no one's like kicking it or just destroying it for some unapparent reason. It's still standing, which I am actually happy that it is still standing. Yeah, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, Noah. These events are hard for our community. I mean, not even for our own community, right? It is very difficult as a New Yorker and as an American to see these events happening, all over the country, because this is exactly what we fought for, is for the individual safety of others, so that they never have to, have these problems to begin with. But again, we're fighting these same problems at home.
Yeah, definitely. Um, like we said before, we gotta. I mean, sure, rallies bring awareness, and it's good for the community to come together and say that's enough's enough. But then there has to be more action before when it comes to those words. You know what I mean? Sure, we have all these classes and stuff, and sure we have this and this, but when an attack happens, we have to know how to respond. We have to know how to basically think, okay, in case this happens, what should I do? Or, situational awareness, routines like, okay, I'm in the subway right now. So if I were to get attacked, where's a good place for me to hide or to actually fight this dude just in case I get into some stuff, stuff like that.
All right. So Lorraine, she, her. I've been a part of the group for, it seems like it's almost 2 years. I don't know. It's like a long time. I haven't attended any rallies lately, but the last one I attended was for Michelle Go. And what do I think about rallies? I do think they're useful, and I see when there's a big mass of people, I think it's kind of hard to ignore. And so they could be really useful, at least, I guess, the optics for people who are around, that this is something that, you have to pay attention to. It also, I think, has a way of just showing you who else is like the work that you're doing. You're not the only one. You can see, at least the other bodies, so that other people care. I do think sometimes that for me, it's that, so what happens after this rally? I always have that type of thing, but I feel that way about, a lot of things. Like you do the work, you organize, you have a thing, and then like, is it, what happens next? I mean, and I've definitely seen some work, because I think of some big ones. I haven't, like, any of the really massive kind of rallies, I just have not, at this point in stage in my life, have not felt really like physically up to do them. But I definitely, I'm going to date myself. It wasn't that long ago, but for like Occupy Wall Street, like I was around when that was going on. It's really dated, but it was like a lot of people for like a lot of time. And I think it was the same with BLM, and like how that had the ability just to kind of change just a little bit. And so, yeah, I do like the idea of just a mass of people just coming together. It's like taking over the street and just like I'm gonna do a rally, like do it. Because I do think it forces people to take a listen, and for there to be some social change. I forget the other questions you asked, John. I'm sorry.
No, it's whatever you want to make of it. If you'd like to concede your time, that's fine too.
I know it was the question about rallies, and yeah, I think so. What happens? So, I mean, I will, because so that way it's like that. Sorry, I'm kind of discombobulated because I was coming from another thing. She was coming from a book club about change, social change.
Yeah, so no worries. I mean, I attended the Columbus Park rally this past, actually it was today, with Vince and Alex, and I also attended the Times Square rally. And, one thing that we were chanting as we were walking through Chinatown is like, this is what community looks like, and this is what democracy looks like. And we were protesting the super jails being built in Chinatown, as well as the community shelters that are currently in place. There is a lot of things going on in impoverished neighborhoods that, again, I think and I can only speak for myself, is that rallies help to bring that attention to, again, these problems, these issues that people may not have been initially aware of, right? And it helps to serve that purpose. We had a couple of people speak earlier about, what's the next action after that? But again, most people just need to have that understanding, that awareness. Like, this is also the same reasons that we watch documentaries on Netflix, is just to become aware of an issue, right?
Yeah, but I do think, 'cause I was looking at something the other day, it's like somebody was posting something about like rape or what. It's like sometimes awareness is like good, but it's like you can have a less awareness, but it's like no action. So I think, well, I think that there is a difference between a rally and a march, right? And because marches have and do like bring change, because they're, whereas rallies is just a lot of politicians. And I've noticed that come the last couple ones, because I attended, I forget which one, it was after Michelle goes, but it was virtual. I attended that one as well, virtually. You get a lot of people talking on the mic and saying their thing. And it sits differently. So their rallies, it sits differently than, I guess, what happens today, where people are actually marching through the street, moving and chanting. And it seems like it's from the people in the community. And like anybody can just kind of come in and like, maybe you have a permit or maybe you don't, but that's not the point. The point is that, we live here, we should be able to, see, you see something, say something. We should be able to like do what we need to do to make sure that we're safer, and we shouldn't have to get these permits and these things, because the living is the most important thing. So yeah, I do think rallies are nice, but marches are better. And like, I think there's a difference between the two.
I kind of agree with like what Lorraine said and what everyone else has said previously, that rallies are good to bring attention to a community. Like they're good to bring attention to a problem, attention to like certain struggles that people are that certain groups are focusing, that not everyone may be aware of, that they're good for bringing people together. And I do think that nowadays, like, strategic use of social media in combination, like at these rallies, is really helpful too. And what Lorraine said in terms of like rallies and marches, I do agree there is a bit of a difference. And so like with marches, when you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, sometimes you close off streets, you kind of inconvenience people, but that's really important. It's like, we're going to inconvenience you to tell you about this problem that we're facing, which is much more than an inconvenience. So it's important in that sense too, because it's more like more I guess more direct, and like I want to see like in their face, even though it's not exactly. But I think the other important thing about rallies and marches in general is the just turnout and the amount of people who participate. Because when you do have a large amount of people, it's like, oh, I'm not the only one who cares about this issue. Everyone cares, and we can work together. And just having that visual image of a lot of people is important too. But I do also agree with what a lot of previous people have said previously, that rallies are great, but you definitely want them to lead to some sort of action afterwards. But yeah, after rallies, there is this feeling of, like I said, empowerment, that like, oh, you're not the only one trying to fight this issue. There's a whole team that you can work with and people you can share ideas and resources with. And it's just really great just finding like-minded individuals who care. And in terms of like, finding individuals who are like who also care about your issues, even though they may be from different ethnic or religious or cultural or whatever groups, like that's great too. It's good to bring people together to share ideas. So that is those are, I guess, my 2 cents. I can pass it on to Henry now. Or sorry,
Yeah.
and or Dr. Z.
Yeah, either one's fine. It's all good. Yeah, I've dropped into a few events slash rallies. I don't know if the ones from last Sunday count, right? Oh no, that counts as this week. I was helping Coach Master Skia teach self-defense, at Brave, and then when I left, it's assembly. It's not really a rally, but it's an assembly of individuals with very similar goals, which in this case, Asian women trying to survive. And then when Millie and we walked out to see what was happening at, I believe, You and Me Books, right? We saw something that was an event, but it became a rally. Why is that? Because it was a pepper spray pickup organized by Soar Over Hate, and you would see a line of people, but it wasn't a line; it curved, not just once, but twice, right? I think that alone makes a statement. I feel like that alone is such a powerful visual statement, more so than a rally, because these aren't just people saying stop Asian hate, holding up a sign. These are people who are lining up saying, I want to live, showing that they want to live, and that if they don't pick this thing up that they don't know how to use at all yet, presumably for the most part, that they will die, right? That's a very powerful statement. That being said, I also want to bring attention to the Washington Square Park rally. Wasn't as big as Times Square. The focus, and I was actually arrived an hour late, but it was a good example of what community was. When I was, I wasn't responsible for any speeches, but there was a table that was led by Serena. She's actually the first Asian American firefighter in FDNY, something I've learned afterwards. And she was giving out these self-defense kits to API women, and included a whistle, safety alarm, and of course a kubaton, it's a short metal stick with a very pointy end. And she gave 100 of them. And of course, some of them thought it was candy. Of course, it is not candy. These are, one person almost did eat it. I think remind them. And then Millie and I, we had to show them how to use these things. And it was the first time that for many of these women that they had to entertain the idea that they would need to get physical just to live. This was the case with the kubaton, this was the case with the flashlights that we were giving out. And I bring up this example because people say, what are the point of rallies? What's the point of awareness? And I understand that sentiment, right? Because you and I, the people in this room, are quite well aware, right? Not just what happens in news, but what happens to people we care about. What has almost happened to us. We know that quite well. And also, the people who do need to listen to this message typically don't tune into these rallies. They typically will make excuses, right? So it's like people don't see the connection between the rally and what it does. However, rallies are what we make of it, right? It's what we make of it. And in this case, we made something of it, right? We used it as an opportunity to meet people who want to take action, and then therefore took action. And that's what we do. It's an opportunity for us to do something, right? Because of the need to do something, right? That's what Alex and John did today too. Once again, attended a rally on Sunday, today on this very day, gave out tactical flashlights, introduced them, and I'm sure I'll let you all speak to it. But once again, you took a rally that was at a minimum just to spread awareness. That's enough, and the folks who organize it and you folks took it to do something. I think that's what we have to know. That's what we have to know and do, using it as a conduit for change.
Absolutely. Thank you, Henry. And before I pass it on to Alex, one of the things that, Henry, you mentioned was these rallies, right? I mean, I attended the Columbus Park rally today, the march, and it's funny because I'm also meeting other community leaders in this space, right? So knowing which groups and organizations are actually attacking these issues head on and actually helping the community on the ground, right? And I'm going to pass it to Alex because, Alex was the one that was actually helping me out to a great extent at the rally on Saturday at Hester and Christie. And that was so powerful because we had actually given out over 100 tactical flashlights. And in a matter of half an hour, but we were able to give so much individual attention to, especially API elders that may, I mean, I'll let you speak to that, but it's so funny that they weren't able to grasp the concept of like how to use tech flashlight and protect themselves.
Thank you so much, Sean. First and foremost, I will acknowledge directly what, where you left off. It was my absolute pleasure to just, give them the flashlight, show them how to use it, right? Block, and then use the flashlight into the neck, into the eyes, tempo, and so on and so forth, right? And the connection I made, that's probably going to be the best act of kindness one-to-one that I would have experienced, giving someone as gratitude, right? And I think, look, I was a news cameraman for a while. We covered different types of rallies. What I could tell you for a fact is rallies that involve the government unions, right? Or like, let's say, people who are very strong and have a very strong presence for that matter, and they want what they want. And a lot of the government have those people within their, those issues that they complain about get resolved in a timely manner, right? It could be a year or it could be less, right? Usually. But we're talking about racism now. This is going to go on for a long, long, long time, right? So the rally, uniting everyone, superb. I love the compassion. I love the unity. I love all different cultures, all different color people come together. That was beautiful. But the government, if they cannot meet us halfway there, or if the party that we're requesting the complaint from, they're not going to meet us halfway there, because we have a real big uphill battle to fight. This is going to happen for a long time, and this is not going to end for a very long time. Over what, 300-400 years now we're talking about, right? 500 years, for Black folks, right, in America, right? So, I think effectively, if we have enough people in the government, let's say in the government, 33% were Asian people, and they had a voice, maybe things could get passed and, easier, to help us in this. That's what this is about. But we don't have the support from the other side. That's a huge problem. So anyway, I'm just doing comparison from a level of, intergovernmental rallies, union, versus this whole racism, social thing, right? The contrast is huge, right? But anyway, I like that the unity, it shows that, people, yeah, we are together and we are strong, but we need the right formula to put together in order to make this effective, right? So that's where I'm coming from, and that's my 2 cents of it, right? And this is going to happen for a very long time, is how I see it, and I hope I am wrong. Believe me, I do not want this to continue, but I really hope I'm wrong, okay? Please prove me wrong, and I would love it. It would be a blessing. Okay, Vince.
I think that's going to be a deeper conversation that we need to have with leadership, but also within the community as well. But just going back to how we can find unification and solidarity and rallies, and it's just going back to that. I'm just going to focus on that right now. But just to make note, we should have a deeper conversation of what you're talking about.
Thank you.
But with the way we do have these ways of voicing to the public with these rallies and marches, it's only effective to a certain extent. But it's also in the hopes of bringing action, right? But action never comes. We can't depend on anyone else. That's why you can never think about, hopefully this is going to bring action, to the leadership that we have, or to other people outside of the community that don't necessarily understand where we're coming from. So we still have to continue to be active and continue to move forward and working together as a whole, and making those changes ourselves, making the right changes ourselves. And so with the way I see it, with these rallies and these marches, these protesting, it's a way to connect with other people that are like-minded, finding people who are aligned with us, but also working together to do more. And that's why we have these programs, not just self-defense, but also creating other programs or other efforts in helping the community, whether it's patrolling the subway, helping people walk down the subway, or patrolling the streets as a group, or I'm drawing a blank here. Sorry, there's other ways of making efforts to making sure that our community is safe, and that's what I see and why these rallies and protests and marches are important. It's to connect everyone together, right? But it's only just a small fraction of the effort that we need to make. We need to still continue to come together and make other efforts that are more significant. And so a lot of that is to bring people together and continue to make those efforts towards the right changes.
Yeah, can I add one thing? Is, all the people who came for the rally, I really appreciate, and you know what? These people, they're committed. Their efforts were not for nothing. They want something to happen too. And you know what? In the long run, I think that we will persevere, and, those people who supported, whatever they believed in, good for them, and we're going to continue fighting a good fight. It may take a long time, but we never gave up, and then thank you for even being here with us, standing with us. I want to add that.
It's finding something in common, or commonalities, and different groups of people, because we are one people. I don't want to be like all hippy dippy, but like this, we are all one people, and people need to understand, and we all need to understand that. And so we have to be, connecting with other and finding those commonalities. That's how we can work together and come together and try to find ways to make a difference, making the right change. And so it's just a start, though. People have to say that it's just a start. People that show up just to show up and say they did something, great. But that's all you can do, fine. But hopefully they'll become more educated and aware that there's more you can do. You can't just show up and just be there. You still have to continue to act. You still have to continue to make actions that will bring change. That it's just a start, and that's why, for me personally, that's why I've joined this conversation, because I hope that we can work together and bringing something that bringing a more significant change to not just within our community, but within our society as a whole, and really address these issues that has been here for forever, and it's going to continue. I got to stop here because I will continue to rant on, but yeah, that's my piece. Sorry. You too.
Noah, you want to go next?
Can y'all hear me? You good? Yeah. All right. I want to bring up a few points. Definitely, you want to definitely get children aware, because the tax doesn't happen in just subways. It happens everywhere, even in public schools. That being said, about saying, give your kids weapons, but, at least teach them to have, situational awareness as to, if you see something, say something, right? That's one thing. Another thing is to these so-called leaders and mayors that tend to run from issues like this, we have to continue to press them on these matters. Because the more it continues, the more it looks bad on them. And it also looks bad on us as a community. That's about much as I could say right now.
I want to add on to that. That's a good point. It's a lot of our responsibility as well as the community is to educate people, but also encourage them to bring action, right? That's why we come together to begin with, because we all are facing or experiencing the same challenges and struggles. And so with that, we're bringing ourselves together. So we need to work together to bring that action. And so it is our responsibility, seeing that, it is to also, encourage others to do the same. And that's why, that's the most important thing, is like, we have to keep pressing on people. It's you continue to ignore it, nothing's going to change. So that's why we need to continue to push, so that way they can understand and realize that they do matter as well. And what they do matter as well. Us working together, it matters. And that is the change that we can bring, and make a complete, make a difference in the issues that we're all experiencing today.
And I just want to I don't know, I feel all of that, and I just want to give it the attention, because some ideas that I pulled out, and I was thinking yes, the rallies are good, because sometimes how are you going to get a lot of people in one space? They're good, they bring that attention, and then instead of just the speeches, groups like this one can do the work of, hey, here's some kits, this is how you use it, self-defense, situation awareness, how you keep yourself and your and the people around you safer. So the rallies are good for that, at least getting people in one area, so that you can continue the work beyond just the speech, what have you, actually teaching folks, how to keep themselves safer and those around them. So I took a note here, I can't really read it, but the rally isn't the only thing. It's what happens after that, connecting people to other organizations and making those connections. And the thing I want to underscore as well, and I've talked to Henry about this a few times, is the aftercare piece, or the healing our community, knowing that so thinking about having to physically defend yourself can be traumatic in and of itself, because in an ideal world, we'd all be able to skip along and live our lives. So including that as a part of the community care or the community self-defense, I think is really important. And giving people, yes, we give them toolkits to defend themselves, but also encouraging people, go to this yoga class, it's not indulgent or what have you, or go to this, or go sit and talk with people, and having just times of just being even moments like this when you get to sit and talk, and all those things are important. And really encompassing this as community care. And I think the other part of it is sometimes what happens is in moments of crisis, people do things and action, but then it kind of goes away when you stop hearing the news stories. So finding ways that these community efforts can continue, because history has shown that these things come back. I was just doing some research, even the Black Panthers, they were all about that, self-defense, and the food programs and things, and then they go away, and it's we should be continuing these things. I mean, it's hard to kind of maintain the same momentum, but how do we but what happened is that history, those stories of when communities were working together across racial and social economic lines, that gets erased, and we're and people get siloed. So how do we keep that and going on? And I think that happens through the continued community care, and seeing this is, learning self-defense is it's I can't think of the word. It's not an indulgent or just for some people. It's a way of life, and it doesn't mean you have to be a violent person, but it just means that everybody should feel secure and be able to have the life that they want for themselves and their families.
All right. Well, again, thank you for joining us for another wonderful hour of Fireside Chat with Dragon Combat Club. Again, we are so thankful that you're, actually viewing this and actually seeing our thoughts on various issues, and not just only among rallies and, why we do what we do, and really why the message of Dragon Combat Club resides with us so strongly. Do like us, subscribe, follow, We are located on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all at the Dragon Combat Club handle, all written out, no spaces. And until next time, thank you, and we'll see you soon at Fireside Chat 4. Thank you.